Welcome to US Last Minute Brief YouTube channel. After the agreement between Russia and Ukraine signed in Istanbul, the grain ships, which could not leave the ports since February and caused a food crisis, started to ship. The first ship, which set off on Monday at the beginning of this week, was anchored in the Bosphorus port of Istanbul and its controls were ensured. It is known that the ship is now en route to Lebanon. Today, it has been announced that 3 more ships will leave the Ukrainian ports. It has been announced that approval has been received for 3 more ships to leave the port in the process jointly led by the Ukrainian government and the Turkish Ministry of Defense. In his statements on the subject, the Minister of Infrastructure of Ukraine informed that 2 ships will depart from the port of Chornomorsk and 1 ship from the port of Odessa. The 3 ships that will set off are carrying more than 50,000 tons of Ukrainian corn. The Turkish Minister of Defense said that the ships that will set off will sail under the auspices of the agreement signed by the United Nations, Turkey, Russia, and Ukraine on July 22 in Istanbul. He also said that today, 3 of his ships will leave the Ukrainian ports and reach Turkey, and 1 empty ship will be inspected in Istanbul and set out for Ukraine. The latest news is that it has launched a full-blown attack in the southern regions of Ukraine and completely liberated Kherson and is moving towards the Crimea. The brave Ukrainian fighters who saved Kherson from the Russian occupation are now sweeping Putin's commanders from the region. 160 days are left behind in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Russia had captured some areas early in the war, but Ukrainian fighters have recently started to retake the occupied areas, with support weapons arriving. Russia could not gain full control in the areas it seized. With the Ukrainian soldier, it turned into a nightmare for the Russian troops. The Russian army had withdrawn some of the troops it had sent to the south to invade the Donetsk region, but this tactic proved to be one of the biggest mistakes Russia had ever made. The Ukrainian army did not forgive this mistake made by Russia, and with this opportunity, Ukraine gave the Russian army its worst days, because the Ukrainian soldiers were much better organized at the front and they were continuing their tactical operations in a much more planned and organized manner. In the first months of the war, the Russian army, advancing with the attack tactic, had captured several regions, but could not protect the regions they had gained and turned their tactics into defense. Ukraine, on the other hand, is making the Russian troops difficult in the war with its operations in the region by increasing its successes on the front. While the Ukrainian army was in a defensive position since the beginning of the war, it started heavy operations at the end of June and its first attack was so strong that the Russian army was shocked by this operation. After this attack, the Russian Navy was severely injured, and after this attack, the losses of Russia began to increase. In addition, the Ukrainian army announced that the Russian army destroyed many ammunition depots, tactical command centers, and logistics routes. The Ukrainian army announced that it is constantly examining all regions with Bayraktar and that it is constantly bombing Russian positions with Harpoon and HIMARS missiles. Another hero of these attacks was the M142 missile system sent by the United States. This missile system has high maneuverability and can launch missiles 2 times farther than Russian missiles. It has been announced that the M142 system has destroyed many Russian warehouses since the day it arrived and caused them to lose hundreds of military equipment and military losses. To talk about the technical features of the weapon, called M142, sent from America, this system has a firing range of approximately 70 miles. The M142 system has a system that can fire 8 guided missiles mounted on the back of a pickup truck. The reason why the M142 is advantageous over other artillery systems is that it has a much longer range and can hit ammunition depots far behind the enemy border. One of its advantages is that it can attack without getting too close to the enemy, that is, without risking. The USA sent additional systems and announced that it would send more because Ukraine saw the successful use of these systems and Ukraine needed more. In his speech yesterday, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg drew attention to the following issues. He said that Russia is now practicing crimes against humanity that were practiced in ancient times, and that Putin committed a war crime. He called for all countries to unite. He explained that if Putin wins this war, it will mean that his unjust and illegitimate violence is working and that they should support Ukraine until they win. He also said that if Russia wins this war, the tension in the world will increase and it may attack other countries. Since February 24, NATO has implemented 2 things it should have done. It first stood by Ukraine and has provided and continues to provide support to this day. Secondly, it took steps to prevent the spread of this war and imposed sanctions on Russia. He also praised the Ukrainian people and their brave soldiers in their speeches. Russia is practicing an unjust attack and destruction not seen since the Second World War. Many citizens had to leave their areas and many innocent citizens were injured or even lost their lives. However, when we look at the course of the war, it is not foreseen that the thesis of the General Secretary of NATO, which is worried that if Russia wins, it will attack other countries and think that it is successful, will be implemented. Because Russia is currently continuing the war with many failures. While Russia saw itself as a great power, it became unsuccessful and powerless against Ukraine, which is now an innocent country. According to last-minute updates from Ukrainian officials, the Russian army is shelling the city of Mykolaiv. However, they said that this attack would be an unsuccessful attempt and they would have to withdraw. Russia is attacking the city of Mykolaiv with its air assault weapons. In the statement of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, it was announced that the air defense systems were working successfully and there was no loss of life. After repeated unsuccessful attacks in recent weeks, Putin started to worry and get angry. Mykolaiv Mayor Alexander Sienkiewicz announced that Russian terrorists bombarded the port area and settlements of Mykolaiv this afternoon. He added that there are affected areas and they hit houses and high-rise buildings where people normally live, but there was no loss of life. There are fires, destroyed buildings, and citizens who are victims, he added. However, most of them were repelled. The defense ministry said in a statement that several of the Russian S-300 launchers that attacked the Mykolaiv region were destroyed. After the agreements signed in Istanbul, the harvest in Ukraine started to accelerate with the ships starting to ship. Minister of Agricultural Policy Mykola Solsky announced that if the ports in the Black Sea operate at half capacity, the grains waiting to be shipped in the country's warehouses can be consumed. Ukraine is expected to export around 70 million tons of grain by next year's harvest. It is planned to ship 3 to 5 million tons of grain per month. Ukrainian Infrastructure Minister Oleksandr Kubrikov said the other day that a bulk carrier that came to Ukraine to collect grain has passed inspection at the Joint Coordination Center in Istanbul and is expected to be shipped on Saturday. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel before you end the video. You can find the latest and most powerful news from the world on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video for more breaking news.